Hello.
Then, now,
Bow down to the queens.
Episode number 500.
forever.
Looks like hell froze over.
Without any more further ado,
Together.
let's jump straight into the show. Hello, and welcome to episode number 6 of the TEW IX Challenge Run. We're here for SmackDown, Friday, 12th of July, 2024. And yeah, we've got a big show tonight. We've got the last first round matches of King and Queen of the Ring. It's Jacob Fatu against Ilya Dragunov. It's Angelo Dawkins against Carmelo Hayes. It's Raquel Rodriguez against Thea Hale. It's Kairi Sane versus Shayna Baszler. I'm also going to find out who Dakota Kai will be defending the Women's World Championship against at Evolution. Plus, a 2 out of 3 falls match between the Cyclone and the Creed brothers to end their rivalry, with the winning team going on to face the Dragon's Dojo for the championships at King of the Ring. Without any more further ado, let's jump straight into the show. We kick off the show with Rhea Ripley and Tatum Paxley making their way down to the ring. And Rhea comes down, she goes, I said on Monday night, Candice has been running her mouth over here, even getting physical back at Money in the Bank. I don't know if she knows what she's getting herself in store for. Okay, but if she wants to be stupid and try and rekindle that glory off of my back, then I'll humor you, Candice. I'll be a champion, and I'll defend my championship if that's what you so desperately want. Now, I've given you a week to rethink your actions. And I think if this is something that you really, really want to get yourself in store for at Evolution. Because let me tell you this, if you're counting along at home, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 defenses of this Liberty Championship. One more, and I can choose to challenge for any World Championship of my choosing. Now, will I go after Bayley? Will I go after your best friend, Dakota Kai? You're putting her in danger too, Candice. Or will I go for Florence? That's up for me to know and you to find out. But Candice, if you want to go down in history as the first ever loser who helped instigate in the new 10 claws of the Liberty Championship, then do be my guest. Candice makes her way down. She goes, I've been thinking about what you said last week. And it's been playing on my mind all week. And there's something that I really don't understand, so I'm glad you did decide to come here on SmackDown. And I can say this to your face. Why, Rhea, do you seem to think that you're untouchable? Okay, because I've seen you lose time and time again. Sure, you're the Liberty Champion now. You beat Jade Cargill for her. That's one hell of a thing. You were the first and only person so far to beat her for that championship. But come on now, Rhea. I know you look at me and you think that I haven't got what it takes to beat somebody like you, but I do. Last week I beat Raquel. Raquel's 6 foot tall. Jack, just like you are. So, Rhea, I thought about what you said, and if I thought I wanted to back down for about 2 minutes when I decided that absolutely not is the answer. Okay? Because I need that championship more than I need anything. Okay, because I need to remind the damn world who I am. I'm Candice LeRae, Royal Rumble winner, WrestleMania headliner, former world champion, and soon to be Liberty Champion. I really just sort of chuckles and goes, I get what this is, Candice. I can see it. I can smell it on you, in fact. It's desperation. Look at you, acting all brave in front of me. I know what this is. You can't handle being second best. You walk around here with your best friends. You've got the Women's World Champion, Dakota Kai. You got the Women's Tag Team Champions, Tegan Nox and Piper Niven. And then there's Candice. Candice walks around here without a championship over her shoulder. Candice walks around here People think, hey, why has she not got a championship? And that desperation has thrown you straight into the fire. So good. I'm glad you accept me at Evolution, because that'll be the last time you ever step into the foot with me, because I'm going to wipe the floor with you, that you won't have to worry about people looking at you as an embarrassment compared to your friends. Because there'll be no denying it. And she sort of shoulder shakes Candice on her way out. But yeah, Candice and Rhea set for Evolution. Next Sunday, I believe it goes King of the Ring first on Saturday, then Evolution on Sunday. But yes, in Arena Mexico will be Candice LeRae against Rhea Ripley for the Liberty Championship. Will Rhea Ripley reach 10 defenses of that championship, or will Candice finally get her hands on gold and give all the Liberators gold? But I've only got 9 days to find out. We then cut backstage. Ava Raine walks in. Not Ava Raine. Ariana Grace walks in. Charlotte and Ava Raine are already in there. You know, Ariana's like holding her stomach. She goes, man, that moonsault of Io's is so devastating. I understand why she won so many matches with it. Charlotte went, are you here to help, or are you here to, gas up my competition? Because last week, I said what you should do was go out there and sort things out. And what did you do? You ended up getting taken out by Io. Okay, you had the upper hand on her. And what gave the game away, huh? Ariana, do you have not what it takes to be able to jump anybody from behind? Because what am I keeping you around for, if that's the case? Ariana goes, I'm so sorry, Charlie. Charlotte, I'll make it up to you next time. Give us a tag team match with Queendom tonight. And me and Ava will prove that we belong here. I'm not just a pretty face around here, Charlotte. I can get stuff done for you. She goes, good, because next week, it's me in Queen of the Ring SmackDown semi-final against either Raquel or Thea Hale. Not that I need any help with that, but if I'm going to go on to become Queen of the Ring, my understudies deserve to be champions too. So how about a little warm-up match, go tell those Queendom girls that we'll see them out there tonight. Say a 2-on-2 tag match. Any two members of Queendom taking on the Royal Dynasty in tag team action tonight. 86 rated opener. I'll take that. To end this little mini feud between the Creeds and the Cyclone. The winning team gets a tag team title shot. And given it's for a title match, obviously the babyface team is going to go over. Ricochet and Bronson Reed, the Cyclone, do pick up the win over the Creeds. 2 falls to 1 after losing the first fall. Bronson Reed pins Brutus Creed with a tsunami to win the match for the Cyclone, confirming that at King of the Ring it will be the Cyclone against the Dragon's Dojo for the WWE Tag Team Championships. 88 for Bronson, 95 for Ricochet, 78 for Brutus, and a 72 for Julius. Then cut backstage to Daniel Bryan. He's watching now. He's being interviewed by Kayla Braxton. She goes, Daniel, Pete, there you have it. At King of the Ring next Saturday, it will be the Cyclone challenging you and Pete Dunne for the WWE Tag Team Championships. And Bryan goes, Kayla, this isn't my first dance with Ricochet and with Bronson. They're a hell of a tag team. As much as I want to put them down because they're our challengers, I can't. They are one hell of a tag team, one of the greatest of this generation. But Pete and I, we are the greatest of this generation, okay? Nothing I do to Pete Dunne compares to anything they can do to prepare for this big championship match, okay? Because there's not a damn tag team on this roster as intense, as must-win, as diabolical, and as ruthless, and as willing to get down and dirty and do whatever it takes as me and my boys, Kayla. And, Bronson and Ricochet, they can try, but they will fail. And at King of the Ring, we're going to reign still the WWE Tag Team Champions. Then Ilya Dragunov walks past. Because I couldn't help but hear you talking about intensity, Daniel Bryan, Myself and Pete, we were cut from the same cloth. We were once members of the same group led by Mr. William Regal. So Pete knows firsthand just how intense my training is. But last week, both of you seemed to get eliminated from King of the Ring. You couldn't handle the almighty Bobby Lashley, and Pete, you couldn't handle the Viper, Randy Orton, and you took it out on him because you weren't good enough to get the job done. So with King of the Ring, who's to say that you two will be good enough to get the job done? Because quite frankly, after last week, I'm not so sure. And he walks off. And then Daniel Bryan sort of just glares across at Pete and goes, who the hell does he think he is, Pete? Pete just shrugged his shoulders. Bryan goes, oh yeah, not intense, huh? We'll see. We then come back to the Queendom locker room. Io is sat there, and you know, everybody else is sort of like conversing around her. And Cammy's sort of like listening to it, and she goes, girls, 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 enough. Yes, we all heard, you know, Charlotte Flair has been back here 1 week and thinks she's planting her flag as the Queen of SmackDown. Where has she been for the last year and a half, okay? She knows who runs this place. And it's not her, okay? It's Queendom. It's us. So she's going to throw Ariana and Ava out there for a little tag team match tonight, but that's fine. So we need to decide whose responsibility it will be tonight to put the Queen's henchwomen in their place. Now, it won't be the Genius of the Sky, Io Sky, because she's in Queen of the Ring next week. We can't have her risking injury ahead of that big match. It won't be the heir apparent Miss Money in the Bank, Utami Hayashishita, because she's got to be saved as a plan B in case things don't go our way. So it'll be Julia, Asuka, and Yoko, you know, which of you two want to go out there and settle this? And then Julia and Yoko come together and they go, we do, Cammy. And then Asuka sort of gets in and goes, no, 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 no. Give me. I've got the most history with Charlotte. Me. I want in. And then Julia goes, but me and Yoko have teamed for years, okay? You know, you brought us in as a tag team. You should know that we have that tag team chemistry. And then Asuka just sort of like gets in Cammy's face and goes, I want in. Okay, let them two choose amongst each other. And then Cammy goes, well, you know, there seemed to be a little bit of tension just between you and Julia right now, so it's probably best if you and Yoko do the tag team match tonight. So yeah, Asuka and Yoko Uehara are the tag team representing Queendom against the Royal Dynasty later on tonight. 85 rated match. Shayna Baszler defeated Kairi Sane in 13:44 by submission with a Kirifuda clutch to advance to the next round of Queen of the Ring, meaning next week it will be Io Sky against Shayna Baszler in the SmackDown semi-final of Queen of the Ring. 78 for Shayna, 84 for Kairi. Boy, Kairi sure is, she sure can't quite get the job done by herself nowadays, can she? I wonder what's going on there. We then cut to a pre-taped interview earlier on today. Pat McAfee sat down with the World Heavyweight Champion, Swerve Scott. And Pat says, ladies and gentlemen, my guest at this time, the man changing the game around here on SmackDown, and the man who faces 16-time World Champion John Cena at King of the Ring in Mexico City next weekend, the World Heavyweight Champion, Swerve Scott. Pat goes, Swerve, you and John have had a lot of history together. In fact, just last year, you and him went at it in a hell of a rivalry. And now he's back and he's targeting your championship. You know, what's your game plan heading into King of the Ring? Swerve chuckles, goes, game plan, Pat? Do I look like somebody who needs a game plan to beat John Cena? Sure, my game plan was last year when John Cena came back and got in my face. To stomp his ass out. And I stomped his ass so badly out that he's now back and talking about retirement. Like, you come back for one tag team match to try and become tag team champions. You couldn't get that done. I messed with Cena's psyche, Pat, and now he knows he ain't got what it takes anymore. It's fine because soon Hollywood will be free to take away an actor should you want to cast an actor in your crappy upcoming comedy movie. And WWE will be free as well because we won't have the shadow of John Cena lurking around here anymore. You see, John Cena, I'm not going to sit here and say all bad things about him. You know, obviously, getting into this industry, he's the sort of guy you look at and think, I want to be like him. But for too damn long, he's been a shadow over this damn company. Who's the next John Cena, they keep saying. John Cena this. When's John Cena coming back? John Cena this. Enough of it. His time is up. My time is now. Okay? And last week he came to the ring and he was so desperate for your love and affection that he came down there and he broke a promise he made 3 years ago with the WWE Universe. When he lost back at WrestleMania 3 years ago, he was told he would never get another shot at the World Championship, yet here he is, getting another shot at the World Championship. You know why that is, Pat? It's because exactly what I want. You see, for a brief period of time, a couple of years ago, the world was exposed to the real John Cena. Okay? All these years saying, when will John Cena turn heel? He's always been a heel. Okay? He covers it over your eyes and he blinds you to it. And last week you saw that in full effect when John Cena, the greatest of all time they call him, came to this ring, pandered to the fans, used retirement as a Trojan horse to get exactly what he wanted once again, because that's what John Cena does. Okay? He babied you all up, so you'll feel bad for him retiring, only to then slip the dagger in and say that, hey, you know, I actually am going to go back on every promise I made. Well, I thank him for that. Because now, it's not going to look as jarring when Cena has to take back another promise he made. Pat, you heard him out there last week. 2025, the end of 2025 will be the end of my career. Cute. Funny. Because that's also a promise that John Cena is not going to be able to keep. Because of King of the Ring. I'm going to stomp his ass so badly, this time he won't even consider retiring. He'll have no choice but to do it early. And this place will no longer live in the shadow of John Cena, because we'll know he's never coming back. And a new flag will be planted down here on SmackDown. This won't be John Cena's show. It's my show, my house. And I ain't moving out anytime soon. And then cut backstage. Buster's there eating gorilla with Nebo and Rufus. And goes, so boys, it's your first match back on SmackDown in God knows how long, and for God knows what reason, because you could have been here kicking ass in my absence, but you didn't do it. So now, we need to see what you're all about. I'll get you a match with those Labyrinth boys. Okay, I hear they're new on the block around here. Easy prey. Pick them off, and once again show the world what the Revolution does best, and that's dominate and take over here on SmackDown. 80 rated tag team match. Holy fucking shit. The Labyrinth do pick up the win though. They pin, Drake Chambers pins Rufus Hamilton with the Thunder Driver in 8:32. 59 for Drake Chambers, 78 for Nathan Kelly, holy shit. 81 for Nebo and a 61 for Rufus. So yeah, you know, Buster was at ringside for this. And his boys just got beat clean in front of his very eyes. After the match, the Labyrinth are celebrating when Buster himself gets into the ring with a steel chair. He takes a chair to the back of both men. You know, starts waylaying on them. He goes, that's called making a statement, huh? That's called the Revolution. And he goes to hand a steel chair to Rufus. And Rufus goes to take it, but like as he reaches out for it, Buster just pulls it back. He goes, no, you haven't earned the right to do this, okay? Losers don't get to make statements like this. If you want to make statements like this, win. He just turns around and continues waylaying on the Labyrinth boys. And then they all leave. And then cut backstage. Garza, Zelina, and Andrade are sort of scheming. And Zelina goes, Queen of the Ring. Didn't come up well for me. You know, Charlotte Flair, I wasn't expecting her to come back and take that spot, and it makes a ton of sense for her to do that because she is the queen. But, you know, I'd like a little bit of preparation time to wrestle one of the greatest women's stars we've ever seen in this company. But I digress. Next week, SmackDown's in Mexico, and you boys aren't booked. We haven't got ourselves a match on that show. That's why I say we need to change that. We need to demand that any tag team out there who wants to prove that they're on the same level as you two, come see us in the ring next week and we'll see what you're all about. That's when Lord Bando and OTM walk into frame. And I can't hear you over talking there, Zelina. Recently, my boys Bronco and Lucian, they sort of fell on tough times, and my other client, Swerve, he he was done with them. But these are my boys too, okay? I love Swerve to death, but I'm not going to abandon my boys just because them and Swerve fell out. Okay? So if you want a match to make a statement next week, how about you two against my two boys? Nobody's looking to make a statement more than them two. And Cena goes, well, you know, if you've got to go ask Daddy's permission for that, Daddy Swerve, but I see you. Okay, I accept. We'll see your asses out there next week. We then cut to the ring. Tonya Breeze and Brooks Jensen are in there. You know, there's balloons, there's cake, there's all sorts out there. And Tonya Breeze is there at a podium. She goes, ladies and gentlemen, the moment that you've all been waiting for has finally arrived. Please welcome back to SmackDown after 7 long, grueling days without them. Your new, first ever Mr.'s Money in the Bank, Elton Prince, Kit Wilson, Pretty Deadly. Yes, boy, out they come, briefcase, you know, they're all dressed like Pretty Deadly would. And then they're coming out, they're spraying themselves with cologne and fragrances. You know, and they get into the ring. Big giant disco ball drops, they point at each other. Pyro goes off, the balloons are flowing around. You know, Tonya and Brooks are there clapping along. They go, yes, boy. What did we say before Money in the Bank, Kitster? He goes, my memory's been a little bit lacking recently, Elliot. You have to remind me. He said, I said we were going to become the first ever tag team Money in the Bank winners. And not only are we the first ever Money in the Bank winners for this tag team briefcase, but check the record books. Last weekend, we made history, okay? We are now the youngest tag team Money in the Bank winners. We are now the prettiest tag team Money in the Bank winners. I don't see that one being broken for a long, long, long time. We are the most dashing tag team Money in the Bank winners. We are the lightest tag team Money in the Bank winners. We are also the oldest, most veteran tag team Money in the Bank winners. We're also the heaviest tag team Money in the Bank winners. And looking at that cake, that might get beaten next year and we win it back to back. But yes, history is upon us. And the Pretty Deadly celebration party is now underway. You know, and Brooks steps up, he goes, hey, you know, I'm glad me and Tonya could do you a great thing here tonight. We got you everything on your list that you said you wanted if you look up on the Titantron. And then they get... Brooks got clearly what is a paid cameo video from Vanessa Hudgens where she's like, Pretty Deadly, Elton Prince, congratulations. Or Elton Kit even. Congratulations on winning the first ever tag team in the Bank. And, you know, I'm a big fan of Pretty Deadly and I'm so happy to see you win this. This is camera off now. Thanks, Brooks, for paying extra for all this. You know, I hope it gets to you one time. And then Brooks goes, I told you to trim that down and cut that ending part out. And Kit goes, relax, Brooks, it's fine. Vanessa, she's a big fan of us. Big fan. In fact, we are actually working on a musical. And, you know, we hope that her, as one of the stars of the greatest musicals ever written, High School Musical, would happily be a part of our musical coming up soon, where we celebrate truly that we are the first ever Mr. and Mr. Money in the Bank. That's when Omos and Otis come out. Mr. Tall and Sexy and Otis. They stroll down to the ring. And Ellen and Kit go, what on God's name are you big oafs doing out here? You're ruining the vibes of this celebration party. Do you not know how hard we worked for this? And Omos goes, we actually have come out here to collect. And they go, collect what? You're not even a real tag team. You don't deserve to come out here and collect this briefcase. And Omos goes, no. And he walks up to Brooks Jensen. And he's like, leans down, he sniffs him. He goes, just as I thought. October 2023 Sex Panther. Ride out in the open. And Brooks sort of like looks really nervous. And Tonya goes, what's he talking about, Brooks? You know, where'd you get this fragrance from? You told me you shipped it in from China. And he goes, I did. And Omos goes, is that true, Brooks? Because last week I thought we made a deal. I agreed that you could use some of my best fragrance for this pretty deadly celebration party, and in return, you'd give myself and Otis a match against Elton and Kit for the tag team Money in the Bank briefcase. And Tonya and Pretty Deadly just sort of like gasp, mouths agape, and they go, "What? What do you think you're doing? It's not your briefcase to put on the line, Brooks. It's ours, okay? You're trying to make us defend against these horrible, evil, ugly men. Say it ain't so." And Brooks goes, "I'm sorry. I couldn't get anything imported here in time, you know. You know how expensive it is to get next day delivery?" And then Tony goes, "So it's true. So we've got to defend our Money in the Bank briefcase against these two idiots." Bush goes, "Look, I thought it was a good deal. You know, I backed Ellen and Kit to be able to beat these guys." And then Ellen Princess goes, "It's not that we can't beat them, okay? We can beat them with our eyes closed. But it's the concept, Brooks. The concept. If you know anything about that." And then Otis and Omar sort of do stand up, and they put Pretty Deadly through the tables. Brooks gets put into the cake, and Otis eats some of the cake. But yes, Pretty Deadly's celebration has been ruined by Mr. Tall and Sexy and Otis here tonight. And Brooks has got them into a little bit of a pickle in regards to the future of the Money in the Bank briefcase. 8-year rating match. Sure, apparently it was a little bit too long for Carmelo Hayes against D'Angelo Dawkins, but they are now one apiece. Carmelo Hayes advances to the next round of the King of the Ring, defeating Angelo Dawkins at 8:58 after using a foreign object. 92 for Melo, 80 for Angelo. So yeah, Hayes advances to the SmackDown semifinals of King of the Ring, where he will face Bobby Lashley next week. Should be a riot, that one. We then see Sami Zayn. He just sat backstage. You know, so someone like knocks on his locker room door and he goes, "Hey Sammy, you know, just got the memo, you're not needed here tonight for SmackDown." He goes, "Great. Of course I'm not needed tonight, okay? Nobody ever needs the loser like me. They need Neville, they need the United States champion, so then you'll never ever be again, Sammy. You're big ugh." And then Johnny Gargano walks past and goes, "Hey, you know, you alright?" And he goes, "I don't know what to do. I normally try my hardest to stay upbeat and stay positive. But you know, after King of the Ring, not being a part of King of the Ring, after already losing in front of my hometown, my family, back at Money in the Bank, it gets to you. You know, my wife, my children, or son, I don't know how many he's got, I think it's just one child, were there, front row. And I gave up." And Johnny goes, "First of all, you didn't give up, you passed out. The records say you lost by submission, but we all know you don't give up, because that's not what Sami Zayn does. Okay? And I see you right here now, looking defeated, like you're never going to get another shot at Neville again. That's giving up. We told you Sami Zayn doesn't give up, okay? So now get your ass up. And how about next week, if you want to get back in the swing of things, you and I can have a little friendly exhibition, because I need to get my ass back on track too. You know, seeing Candice go out there and try and, you know, win championships for herself reminds me that I need to do the same thing. So how about it? Next week, Johnny Gargano, Sami Zayn. You know, two bugs that Neville claims to have squished under his boot, proving to him and to the world that nothing can keep us down." Sami sort of smiles. He goes, "You know what? You're wrong, Johnny." They shake hands. And yeah, Gargano and Sami Zayn next week in a friendly spar. Don't forget that Gargano does have a Cruiserweight Championship match this week as well, on Velocity against Axiom. Depending on how long that is, that could actually not be awful. Asuka sustained a minor concussion in this match, but she did lose anyway. The Royal Dynasty, Ariana Grace and Ava Raine, pick up, I guess, the shock victory over the Queen Sovereign. I set it up so, like, every combination of Asuka, Julia, and Yoko have their own, like, specific tag name. But, you know, they are Queendom still. It's like when, you know, different versions of the Elite and Bullet Club and stuff team up and they have, like, different names. It's just like that. It's just something I think is cool. So, you know, the duo of Asuka and Yoko is called Queen Sovereign. I think Asuka and Julia as a team is just Dominion. or like Queen's Dominion or something like that, because I tried to make them all Queen themed. And then Yoko and Julia are whatever Queens is, like, because they are Donna del Mondo, which is Women of the World in Italian. So like they're that, but then like whatever Queens instead of women. But yeah, that's a rant. Ariana Grace gets a 58, 64 for Ava Raine, 82 for Yoko, and an 80 for Asuka. Asuka sustains a minor concussion. Not ideal, but again, you know, at least it's not Io. Asuka is probably the least. Well, her or Yoko, either of these probably could be the most, you know, switch-outable member of this storyline. We then cut back to the Women's Tag Team Champions watching that. And then Kayla goes, wow, what an upset victory for Ariana Grace and Ava Raine upon their SmackDown return here. And joining me are the Women's Tag Team Champions, Tegan Nox and Piper Niven. And Tegan goes, it's kind of refreshing to not know that Queen didn't win that match, because God knows if we had to face those girls again. But, Ariana, Ava, two young second-generation talents, Charlotte Flair picked them and took them under her wing for a reason. And what a win. Okay, that's certainly, as the Women's Tag Team Champions, we've got to keep an eye on who's rising the ranks here on SmackDown. So it could be Ariana and Ava. We never know. If we were on Raw, we're keeping an eye on ECW. And, next week, we're going to have the announcement of, who will be the Women's Tag Team Championship #1 contenders heading into Evolution. Why did I... Oh, actually, no, but I was going to say, why did I put two back-to-back? But I can just, string these along. So, Piper Niven and Tegan Nox walk away, and we sort of do linger on Kayla for a couple of seconds, then Neville barges into frame. She goes, is this some kind of a joke? Okay. Sure, I've been elated after I broke the heart of that pesky Sami Zayn back at Money in the Bank. But to not put Neville, the King of the United States, in the King of the Ring tournament, that's a low ball, even for Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis. I saw Johnny Gargano and Sami Zayn's little pep talk earlier on, so it's going to take a lot more than one silly pep talk to get either of those two pipsqueaks ready and on my level, because I've already defeated both of those idiots. And Tyler Breeze walks into frame. He goes, but you haven't beaten me. Neville, I see you, I see myself, you and I. Neither of us really mentally all there. Neither of us really the best person. But I damn well think we could do some deplorable things together. And Neville goes, so let me get this straight. You want to be the next to step to the throne of the King of the United States. And Tyler Breeze goes, you're damn right I do. And then he walks off, and Neville just turns to Gary and goes, tell Nick Aldis that we have a championship match in Mexico next week. We then cut back to Gorilla. Thea Hale's there, she's getting all fired up. All of Chase U are there gassing her up. Andre, Bodie, Duke, Kaylee, Hams, Keith, Shane, Morgan. And they get all gassed up, and then her music kid goes, I'm going to go out there, Mr. Chase. It's all me. I'm going to get this done. I'm going to upset the world. I'm going to beat Raquel. And I'm going to move on to next week. I'm going to face Charlotte Flair. And I'm going to beat her, and I'm going to become the queen. And bring that crown back to Chase University. And they all leave. When Aussie Open walk up to Chase U again. I go, what do you think, boys? Yeah. Do you think she's got it? And then Andre goes, why are you back here? Okay, what's your deal? Because we're just talking to our mate Duke. Me and Duke, we go way back. Isn't that right, Duke? And Duke goes, yeah, I've known these guys for years. Growing up in Australia and all that. And Andre goes, well, Duke's got a match to be out there for tonight, so, hope you boys keep watching, watch how your friend does. And they all leave. And then the camera pans on the two Aussie Open boys, and they go, oh, we'll be watching real close, alright. 69 nice rated match. Yeah. Raquel Rodriguez, though. I'm sorry, Colton, cover your ears. Raquel pins Thea Hale in 7:14 with a big boot. During the match, we've got all of Chase Shu hanging around out there. You know, Duke's out there, Bodie, Shane, Andre, the girls, Keith. When Aussie Open do come down. And they start, like, drumming on the apron as Duke's doing it, you know, to try and, like, gas him up. I go, yeah, yo, come on, Duke, come on. Chase Shu, Chase Shu. And Thea sort of notices them and goes, what are them two doing out here? They're not in Chase Shu. And then, you know, that brief distraction, she turns around and gets big booted, gets Tejana bombed, and pinned by Raquel Rodriguez. 66 for Raquel, 53 for Thea. So Raquel is the one who will advance, and she will face Charlotte Flair next week in the SmackDown semi. So we know the final 8 of Queen of the Ring. On the SmackDown side, it's Charlotte Flair against Raquel Rodriguez, and Io Sky against Shayna Baszler. And on the on the Raw side, it's Stephanie Vaquero against Tiffany Stratton and Bianca Belair against Nova Nebula. So the winners of those matches will go on to Evolution in the Raw and SmackDown finals and then the Grand Final. We then cut back to Queendom lore. You know, Asuka's been taken away. Like, we're watching Asuka, like, get carried away. And then Julia, Utami, and Cammy walk up. Cammy goes, oh, rough, huh? And Yoko just sort of shrugs and goes, eh. And Cammy goes, well, Asuka nominated herself for this match tonight. And Asuka paid the consequences, you know. It sucks that we had to lose one of our own, but hey, you know, lesson learnt now. You know, losers won't be tolerated. She lost and look at what happened to her. Okay. So now we should know more than ever that Queendom rules and no losses will be tolerated because we are winners. 95. Fucking yes. That's better than I even thought it would be. This is technically our main event match. You know, the main event segment is the Dakota Kai segment. But this is our main event match here tonight. It's the final SmackDown quarterfinal of the King of the Ring. And Jacob Fatu pins Ilya Dragunov clean. Like, I was debating doing interference here. But, you know, these are two baby faces. They both, you know, it's Ilya against Jacob Fatu. It's Dominant Beast against, you know, this is effectively Darby Allin versus Brock Lesnar. But yes, you know, Jacob Fatu does defeat Ilya clean with a Samoan drop in 1504. So next week, it will be Ilya Dragunov one-on-one with Randy Orton. And, you know, the other SmackDown semi-final, which is Bobby Lashley against Carmelo Hayes. Then on the Raw side, it's LA Knight against AJ Styles and Xavier Woods against Montez Ford. Then after the match, you know, Ilya and Jacob Fatu sort of like stare across at each other from each side of the ring. You know, Ilya's in bottom right, Fatu's in top left. And you can just tell by the way they're staring across at each other, there's, you know, some huge respect between the two because they just went to fucking war. When Daniel Bryan and co jump in and they start beating up Ilya Dragunov. And, you know, they all come out, they will start beating up Ilya. Jacob Fatu sort of watches on, confused. And then outrun the Cyclone to try and even the odds. They start fighting them off. You know, there's cruiserweights and there's Bronson Reed, so, you know, the numbers game is not that big of a deal. But then it's even less of a big deal when Big Jacob Fatu, who goes to leave, turns around, he starts laying waste to Daniel Bryan's boys as well. So then, you know, in the end, the Dragon's Dojo do retreat as the quartet of Ricochet, Bronson Reed, Ilya Dragunov, and Jacob Fatu stand tall. Next week, it is the final SmackDown show before our 2 pay-per-view extravaganza. I'm debating making it like a 2-night event called like WWE in Mexico or something, because I know you can be dinged for overdoing pay-per-views on this game. And like, it's effectively a 2 nights in Mexico event, so like, I might set it up like that so I don't get dinged for doing too many pay-per-views. Anyway, we have our SmackDown semi-final Queen of the Ring matches confirmed for that show, being Io Sky of Queendom taking on Shayna Baszler in the first match of the quarterfinal of SmackDown semi-finals, and then we also have Charlotte Flair against Raquel Rodriguez in the other SmackDown Queen of the Ring semi-final match. And then on the men's side, we have Bobby Lashley taking on Carmelo Hayes in a King of the Ring SmackDown semi-final, as well as Jacob Fatu taking on Randy Orton, Werewolf vs Viper, next week on SmackDown. Plus a championship match, as Neville will defend the United States Championship against another former NXT rival of his, Tyler Breeze. And, you know, we've also got Sami Zayn and Johnny Gargano. They both sort of been down on their luck recently. They're having a little friendly competition next week to see who can come out on top in that one. Plus, in their home country, Andrade Cien Almas and Angel Garza will be in tag team action taking on Lord Bando's OTM of Bronco Nima and Lucian Price. So yeah, that's a full card of matches. With 7 matches right there, plus John Cena will be in the building, and, you know, a whole lot more. Plus, moving on to King of the Ring and Evolution next weekend, we now have the official confirmation that for the World Heavyweight Championship on that show, Swerve Scott will defend against 16-time World Champion John Cena. You know, renewing their rivalry from last year. Plus, confirmed tonight for the WWE Tag Team Championships, it will be the Dragon's Dojo of Daniel Bryan and Pete Dunne defending against Ricochet and Bronson Reed of the Cyclone. And then on the women's side for Evolution, it was officially confirmed tonight that the Women's Liberty Champion Rhea Ripley will defend, which could be her 10th defense of the championship, will defend against Candice LeRae after weeks of, you know, her asking for Rhea Ripley to defend her belt against her, basically. 71. That's actually a pretty decent closing angle considering who's involved here. But Nick Aldis comes to the ring, or he's already in the ring even. And he goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your guest at this time, the Women's World Champion, Dakota Kai." And Dakota comes out. And also goes, "Dakota, you know, with Queen of the Ring ongoing here on SmackDown, and SummerSlam on the horizon, it's within mine and Adam's best interests to ensure that the very best people here on SmackDown are getting shots for the WWE Women's World Championship." Now, after defeating EO, he defended against the Queendom Girl, he defended against Tegan Knox, Candice LeRae, you name it. But we had to scour the entire world and think who is the most fitting person, who is the best wrestler that we can find, that we can have Dakota Kai defend the Women's World Championship against at Evolution. And we think we've been on the phone with somebody very, very important. Somebody very, very much fits that description, and she will be your opponent at Evolution. So, Dakota Kai, I hope you're prepared for the fight of your life, because you're going to have to bring everything and more if you want to leave Mexico City as the Women's World Champion. That's when Aaliyah's music hits, and her and Grayson Waller come out. It was Neek lad, you know, thank you so much, mate, but we'll take it from here, okay? Now, that was such a great introduction, you know. Aaliyah, she's been grinding all her whole life, you know, all the way from her origins in Canada, you know. First Arabian woman to try and become Women's World Champion. It's going to be such an honor next week in Mexico City, of all places, to finally bring some class to that dump hole of a country. And we're going to leave the hottest tag team in SmackDown. You notice Baron Corbin ain't here tonight, lad, because I stomped his ass out. And Dakota, you're next out next weekend when my gorgeous, hot girlfriend, Aaliyah, beats your ass and takes your championship. Now, you know, you said a lot of positive things about Aaliyah there. There's a lot more that you left off. So if you want me to run down the list of accolades that the talented, gorgeous, sexy Aaliyah can cover, well, you should have just given me a ring, lad. But, like, we never heard our phone ring. So, like, this announcement shocked all us. But it makes perfect sense that if you're looking for the most dominant, strongest, best women's wrestler here on SmackDown, you're going to come and look for Aaliyah. In fact, let me go over the 100 reasons why Aaliyah is the greatest women's wrestler here on SmackDown. And he starts, like, reading them all off when, like, Aaliyah stood behind him. as he reads them, like, blushing, you know. And the crowd starts to, like, jeer. It's like, oh. And we can even see, like, Dakota has spotted somebody off screen. And then, as Waller's sitting there counting down, the reasons why Aaliyah is the greatest women's wrestler on SmackDown. Aaliyah is sniped, seemingly out of nowhere. Like, the way the camera's shot is, the turnbuckle's just off screen. And Aaliyah's there, you know, she's facing the front camera, when she's just completely picked out of midair and taken down by a wrestler flying in from off screen, who hits like a diving top rope stunner on Aaliyah, and she sells it like death. And Waller turns and goes, "What the hell was that? You know, who the hell do you think you are, okay? You know, laying out my hot, sexy girlfriend like that." And Waller goes to swing at this person who, like, takes him down as well. And then she takes her hood down, and it is, of course, former SmackDown Women's Champion Ember Moon, who, like, smiling at Dakota. And Dakota sort of, like, she's shocked, but she's also smiling back. And then Nick Aldis goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, your #1 contender for the Women's World Championship at Evolution. Please welcome back Ember Moon." So yeah, Dakota will defend the Women's World Championship at Evolution against Ember Moon. Her contract came up. You know, she's been gone for a while now, and I want to give her another run because, you know, she's done really good in real life and has probably earned another run. That's if she even wants to leave ROH in real life. But yeah, Ember Moon is back, and she will challenge Dakota Kai for the Women's World Championship. Her contract coming up happened at exactly the right time because, you know, SmackDown's being overloaded by Queendom Law, in case you couldn't tell. And I noticed it. It was left in a comment as well recently, but I've noticed it. Don't worry. The women's division on this brand is Queendom. Queendom adjacent people, i.e. the Liberators. And now I guess Charlotte. And then just a massive drop off to nothing. So Ember is the perfect sort of person to immediately just slot into that role, where she'll be like, she's not one of the A tier players, but she's B+ and can elevate up and challenge for or even win a world championship should I need it to be put on somebody that's not in the Queendomverse. But yes, she's back, and she's challenging Dakota Kai at Evolution. That ends the show, which gets us a 86. Okay, with the 71 rated main event segment, that's perfectly fine. What matters more, though, is what you thought of the show. Do let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. No, I won't. I'll see you across in seconds for Velocity, where we'll have the next 4 WWE Speed Tournament matches and a Cruiserweight Championship main event. The first WWE Speed match gets underway, and RKJ picks up the win over Tristan Ellison in 4:22 with a 450 splash, so he advances to the next round of the tournament. But does he, because he picked up a distracted thigh muscle. I'm not sure how long, if any, that will keep him out, but he may end up needing to be replaced in the tournament with somebody. So we'll have to wait and see. I probably will actually skip to the end and do the injury recap thing that is in the game now, because I need to look at that and Asuka's. So yeah. 69 for Tristan Ellison, 74 for RKJ. Thank you, Mickey. 70 rating, which might actually be the cap for 3-minute or 4-minute matches, I'm not sure. But Javon Evans advances. He defeats Grand Metalik in 3:53 by submission. 88 for Grand Metalik, 62 for Javon Evans. Metalik is still scoring hella strong, but, like, he feels like a wrestler who's, like, his time on the roster has been and gone. Like, it's fine, but he feels like he's never really gonna elevate back up to what he was back in, like, 2021. That was his peak, really. But yeah, Javon Evans does pick up the win. 64 rating for this match. This goes apparently 9 minutes overtime, but it doesn't, you know, it's because I can't set a 5-minute time limit on a match and then, you know, end it before then. But yeah, Santos defeats Oro with the Phantom Driver in, let's say, 4:49. So Santos gets a 66, 73 for Oro. And then the final first round match of the tournament, Emerson Frost defeats Ty Marley in 3:37 with a triple C, 85 for Emerson Frost to 64 for Ty Marley. Then getting an interview with Johnny Gargano. You know, he's talking about his upcoming Cruiserweight Championship match. He goes, Funaki, you know, I understand the stigma here, but I'm trying to erase that, okay? A lot of people look at me where, they look at me on the Cruiserweight Championship show on Velocity and challenge for the championship as a demotion. But it's not what this is at all, okay? People should want to compete on Velocity, because Velocity is the place where the best Cruiserweights in the world gather to compete. And you see me, Funaki, I'm not a big guy. You're not a big guy. But we're both hell of a talented what we did in that ring. And tonight, I'm going to show the world, I'm going to show Axiom, the Cruiserweight Wrestling isn't just a show for Velocity. It's worldwide. Some of the best stand wrestlers in this world have been Cruiserweights. It's time to take that championship and turn it up to 11 and make that the most important championship here in this damn company. And they get an 88 rated match. Fuck yeah. Banger. That did this is accomplished. When I sent Gargano down here to wrestle for the championship, this was exactly what I was hoping to do. So yeah, good job, boys. But Axiom does retain in 17:44 by pinfall to make defense number 6 of the Cruiserweight title. 81 for Axiom, 88 for Gargano. And yeah, big win for Axiom. After the match, of course, they shake hands. Gargano raises Axiom's hand and he leaves the ring. Axiom is celebrating when he turns around and he's dropped by a big kick from Cedric Alexander. Cedric Alexander stands tall over the Cruiserweight champion. He picks up the belt. He sort of looks down at it. He squats over Axiom. He goes, "Don't forget where this all came from. Ali wants to go back to the beginning. Then I will too." And he slams the title down and leaves. It's like, yeah, big statement by Cedric Alexander here tonight to close out Velocity. 79 rated match, so even. Yeah, that 88 rated really carried. What matters more, though, is what you thought of the show, mainly of SmackDown. So tell me what you thought in the comments below. And I'll see you next time for Raw, where we'll have the go-home show for King of the Ring and Evolution. See you then. Also, I forgot to record it, but Asuka is only out for 30 days, and RKJ is only injured for 3 days, and he's working through it, so he won't have to be replaced in the tournament. Okay, bye!